Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Bob's Woodshop. Today's project is this really nice antique pepper mill grinding kit from Penn Industries. It's the features and the design and the overall looks of this is really nice. Right. So one of the things that I found on this kit when I was looking at some of the other YouTubers when they made this kit, they made the wood part roughly half and half. So this was about half of the overall project and this was the other half. And I felt the overall proportions of that was not correct. So what I did, I broke out my Fibonacci gauge and I wanted to calculate how long the body should be versus the grinder itself. So if the grinder was roughly that tall, the wood part should be that. And this gives an overall much more pleasing look of the overall project itself. So hang in there, sit back, relax, and I'll show you how I did this. One other thing about the turning of this project, I saw a lot of people chucking this up and drilling it in many different ways. And the way I decided to do it was to turn it between centers and then turn a tenon down on this side, and at the end drill through the top. You just have to make sure that your bit is long enough to go all the way through. So what I did, I used a Forstner bit with an extension on it, and that made the overall building of the project much easier. So this project is sponsored by Penn Industries, and the kit comes in antique brass and antique copper. There's an instruction sheet, the pepper mill itself, and a couple of screws. So, as all projects, please read the instructions. So I'm starting off with about an 8-inch long piece of cherry and using my 2-inch roughing gouge to get it down to dimension. And I'm using a bowl gouge here to make the primary shape. I kind of like the 2-cone version that I came up with. Now, my original idea was to make that whole thing a ball at the top, but I cut it a little bit too narrow and had to cut off a little bit of the top, you'll see here in a minute. I'm then using a Benjamin's Best beading tool, which is also available at Penn Industries. And this makes making beads very, very easy. They come in a set of 4. I'm using a 1/8 inch beading tool here. And I think the combination of the large bead and the small bead is a very nice complement to each other. Like I said, I made that top of that just a little bit too narrow to fit the feet of the mill, so I had to cut down a little bit. That's what we call in the wood turning world a design modification. And actually, I'm glad I made that mistake. I think it's better off for that. So I started off with about a 120, 240, and ended up with about a 400 grit sandpaper. And blowing it off prior to applying a finish. The finish I like to use is this Triple E Ultra Shine in combination with Mylands friction polish. So you put that on, and this is a shellac base finish. And the combination of these two makes a very durable and shiny finish, and it's extremely easy to apply and it goes on quick. So you just rub it on and then you can buff it a little bit. There's the Mylands friction polish, and then I'm using a solder brush in order to get to the bottom of the beads. The paper towel wouldn't do that on its own. So here I'm turning this at about 1500 RPM, melting it and making it shine up real nice. So I created a tenon on the bottom of the mill body, and here I'm drilling it with a 1/2 inch bit. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm using an extension bit on a regular Forstner bit, so keep that in mind. If you don't have an extension bit, you'd have to turn the mill upside down and drill it from the other end. So here I'm just cutting it to the length. This is the final length. And since there's a hole through there, I only have to cut into this about 3/4 of an inch and then it'll release. Got to be very careful here because it's a thin parting tool and it's right next to the chuck, so I'm being very careful not to have the chuck hit the tool. There, the body of the mill released, and now it's real easy just to take it off. So I did a nice job on that. It's nice and flat. Had to do a little bit of sanding, and now I'm applying some more of the Mylands friction polish. I'm just rubbing that on. If you wanted to spray the inside of that or brush some shellac on the inside, that'd be fine. I'm going to just leave it as it is. So from there, I use my dividers to get the center of the two nubs at the end of the mill in order to identify exactly where to drill the holes. Now I'm using an awl just to get a starting point. And from there, I'm just going to use a drill. Got to be careful not to drill through the bottom of the cone there. So I made sure to measure the length of the screws and make sure I wasn't drilling too far. Right there, I was just making sure I had a good center line. So you can see I just drilled just a little bit in there, and that was just enough to get the mill onto the body. From there, I'm just putting a couple screws in. It'd be a good idea to put a little bit of wax on the screws right there. In this particular case, I did not do that. So that's how the mill looks. I think it's very attractive. I really liked how the body came out. I think the metal and the wood really complement each other very well. So I hope you liked the project. Again, this is available at the Penn State Industries in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hopefully this inspired you to make one or make a whole bunch of them now that Christmas is coming up soon. And hey, you know the drill. Please like, comment, or subscribe, and share it with your friends. I'm always looking to get a few new subscribers. Remember, always wear your safety glasses in the workshop. Woodworking is a lot of fun, but it can be dangerous. So until next time, I'll see you on another episode of Bob's Woodshop. Bye-bye.